Hey guys, welcome to Alex Chats. And if you're new here, this series of videos is really just to talk about, discuss, have fun with, and laugh at RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars Season 3. So let's get right on into it. But before we do, go ahead and press that little subscribe button right there so that you can get notified of all the content that comes out from this channel. Also, don't forget to hit that little thumbs up like button right down below too. All right, so let's start into it. We start off with walking into the workroom, and Kennedy starts to explain why she sent Milk home. And essentially it was because not only was Milk getting poor critiques from her performance in the improv skit, but she also treated Kennedy as if, you know, she wasn't really an all-star, as if she didn't deserve to be on Drag Race All-Stars. And Kennedy was really hurt by that. And when you're really hurt by that and you're in the competition, you have the opportunity to just remove that from, you know, thinking about it, then it makes sense. You know, if you're in the competition, you're trying to do things, but the person that is really telling you you don't deserve to be here, and if they get in the top is going to send you home, yeah, go ahead and send them home. That makes sense to me. And I wasn't mad about it. But what about Chi Chi going home? Well, you know, I ride the fence with that. And I even rode the fence with Chi Chi going home in this particular episode because, you know, she is trying and she is doing her absolute best in certain spots. Especially in this episode, she was doing her best. It just didn't, you know, really work out for her. But if we're saying that Chi Chi should have gone home instead of Milk, I would have disagreed with that. I think Milk should have gone home just to get rid of that energy that was starting to, you know, fester up in the environment. So then we jump right into the next day, and there is no mini challenge, and there is no walk into the workroom discussion. And in terms of the no mini challenges, I'm okay with that. You know, they don't need mini challenges on All Stars for real. Like, I'm okay with that being on regular seasons. They are giving a lot of fans what they asked for. In the past, people have said, there isn't enough workroom time. We don't get to see the queens interact really in the workroom. We just see challenge and then main stage, which is a complaint few seasons back. And so I think they're trying to compensate for that by adding a lot of workroom time in and cutting a lot of that extra meat out where they don't need to. And I'm okay with that format for right now. I mean, I'm interested, like what's happening in the workroom is interesting. So I'm okay with I'm okay with fast tracking that. But I love that there's more workroom times because it leads to moments like this where Shangela saw the note that Thorgy left for Trixie. And in the middle of it, it said something nice to Trixie, and then Thorgy signed it, F this shady B. She signed it Shangela, and wrote F this shady B next to it. And then Shangela saw it. Now, we have to remember that Shangela calls herself the Nancy Drew of drag. Like, she said it in the first episode, her song. She said it during season 3. She wants to find out what the tea is. And so she, of course, is going to be looking. And so she's looking everywhere and she notices it. Now, it was in Trixie Station. I don't know how it's set up there. I've never been in the workroom. I don't know how close things are. I don't know, like, what the proximity of it was. I don't know. But you did hang it up where people can see it. And you can't get mad, Trixie, that somebody saw the note that you hung up, especially if you said you didn't show it to her because it wasn't helpful. You said you didn't show it to her because it wasn't helpful, so why would you hang it up? Like, you could leave it somewhere out on your station in your stuff that, you know, is closer to you, and no one will have to be able to see it. But like, Trixie says she wasn't thinking about it, but I think she knew what she was doing. She just didn't care. Which she said at the very beginning. Then she apologized a little bit later. We'll get to that, but at the very beginning she said, you know, I don't care what you think, so get away from my station. Yes, Trixie knew what she was doing. But then we move forward past that, and Rue walks back in as they're starting to get their Snatch Game characters together with Marc Jacobs. Whole shade of it is that Milk and Marc Jacobs are like this, apparently, and Milk just left the day before. But Milk was not mentioned at all to Marc Jacobs in this episode, which I think was utterly hilarious. Like, nobody mentions that Milk was there. And they might have mentioned it before and just didn't say anything on camera, but I thought that was hilarious. So we're going to do the walkthrough right now and while Ru talks to them and some of my initial thoughts about what we see in the walkthrough. So BB we see as Grace Jones, and we saw a little bit in the preview before that she was Grace Jones. And I immediately, once I saw it in the preview, I was like, okay, I'm here for it. I'm ready to see what happens with it. I felt good about it because of what I saw in that little preview. And we'll talk more about how I felt about individual performances in the actual Snatch game when we get to that. So next, Shangela starts off as Miss Cleo, and then her Jamaican accent kind of sounds like an Irish accent, and it really did sound like an Irish accent. I was like, no, Shangela, it doesn't sound Jamaican yet. Maybe you could work through it, but she was like, instead of working through it, no, I'm just gonna go with my backup, which is Jennifer Lewis, which I honestly think Shangela was born to play Jennifer Lewis, but we'll get back to that. But no, she decides, at the end of the conversation didn't go well with Ru with the walkthrough, so I'm gonna just go ahead and do Jennifer Lewis, which I know I can do. Kennedy decides she's doing Phaedra Parks from Real Housewives of Atlanta, and I'm interested to see where she's gonna take it because of how good she did with Little Richard in season 7. And so then we don't get any more walkthrough, action in terms of talking to other people. But now Trixie decides she wants to talk to Shangela about, squashing whatever this was. I will accept Trixie's apology for what it is, for how she said it, whether or not she was being completely sincere and genuine. Because like I said, you know what you're doing when you're hanging up a note that talks about somebody else where they might be able to see it. Like if you didn't want them to see it at all, you wouldn't have it out. So you knew what you were doing. I love Trixie, but you knew what you were doing. So I didn't really bang too much with Trixie's apology. I just think she didn't want any thing bad in the air or bad in the atmosphere. And I'm glad she did that because it helped her out toward the end of the episode. But before we get there, we get to the Snatch game, and Carson and Michelle for the first time, Carson and Michelle, or any of the regular judges, are the contestants for the Snatch game. The only other time that Ross has been, but that was well before he was a regular judge. I think he was a host on Snatch Game or a contestant on Snatch Game for season 4, but that was well before he was a regular judge. So this is the first time regular judges are a part of the game, which I love because that gives them the opportunity to see firsthand what happened. I think they might see clips of it or pieces of it or portions of it, but they get to see it firsthand. And I think that's great in terms of being able to get feedback. And this is also the first time where, well, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but this is also the first time where a guest celebrity judge is on the panel of celebrities. And so Kristen Chenoweth, one of the extra special guest judges, is on the panel. I thought that was really cool too, just to have them interact as well, so they could all see and all get the benefit of what's actually happening in the scene. And that happened last week too with Jeffrey Boyer-Chapman. And Michelle. Michelle was directing, but didn't really need to be there. And Jeffrey Boyer-Chapman was a part of the scene. And so I think that made a difference as well in terms of being able to give actual quality feedback because they're a part of the interaction with the girls. So we get to the Snatch game, and Trixie starts off. So I'm going to go character by character. I'm not going to go question by question. I'm just gonna go character by character and overall impression. So Trixie as RuPaul. Trixie starts off great. Her first joke lands. It was great by American on iTunes, laughing, ready to see what happens. And then Shangela blames us. Shangela says, we told her on the internet that her RuPaul is funny. And in the context of with Katya, with the Trixie and Katya show, and in Trixie's stand-up act where it's appropriate, yes, it made sense and it worked. But it just didn't work after that initial joke. And it just wasn't funny enough. And Trixie is quick, but we'll talk about this a little bit later, but Trixie is quick, but she got in her head and it just wasn't funny. And I felt really bad. I felt really, really bad because I was expecting a lot from Trixie, but you could see in the performance, even though she was trying hella hard, but you could see that she just knew it wasn't going well. And I felt bad because we just know she wants to do well. And yeah, so that kind of made me feel bad. But moving on to Phaedra, Kennedy Davenport is Phaedra Parks. I love that the first joke was this long, ridiculous black church name. I wish it was longer so that it could be even more exaggerated and I could have laughed even harder at that. And based off of what happened last season, in that first joke, I had high expectations from Kennedy about being Phaedra. I was like, okay, this is gonna be funny. I'm gonna laugh. She's gonna have even some humor that's referenced outside of like mainstream culture in terms of like Black church culture or Black she's gonna have some jokes that are kind of out of the mainstream, like specifically in terms of like Black church culture. If that's how she started her impression with, I was like, okay, this could be even funnier, and it wasn't. It was very understated, and she kind of went the same route that she did with Little Richard in terms of taking it very over sexualized. However, it was too understated a performance. Had she chosen Nene, for example, or Kenya, for example, who are louder characters in general, then I think that might have worked. But it was just very understated, and I wasn't laughing at all, really. Since after the first thing, I wasn't laughing at all. So Ben de la Creme as Paul Lynde. I don't know if you guys know who Paul Lynde is, but he was Uncle Arthur in, like, most known for being Uncle Arthur in Bewitched. He was also like the Center Square. I think he might have been on Match Game a few times, and which is what Snatch Game is based off of. And I absolutely loved it. I have been waiting for a character, for a queen to come on and play the Snatch Game as if they were playing the Match Game again. Like, the last queen to ever really play it like it was Match Game was Pandora Box. Everyone else, after that started playing a character when we were playing it up in the character, but Pandora was the first one to actually play it like it was an episode of Match Game. And I love that the Paul Lynde character was able, it was just lends itself to that. It was perfect. It was hilarious. Ben de la Creme was everything. Nope, save it. Hold on to it. Okay. All right. So next up was Chi Chi as Maya Angelou, who did not know how to spell her name, who looked like Maya from her 20s and 30s when nobody a way that nobody recognizes Maya Angelou for or as nowadays. And I was laughing for all of the wrong reasons. There were some funny moments, like there was a funny rhyme that she had, but it was funny because it was so like, really, like it was not good. And I didn't know where she would go with it, because on her season she did Eartha Kitt, and it was kind of funny the way that she did it. But Maya Angelou just was not funny from the first, starting spelling her name wrong and going back and fixing it with this little a. It was just so, I was like, Chi Chi, like, you're not giving me what I want this season, and that's unfortunate because I wish you would. So next is Shangela as Jennifer Lewis. Like I said before, she was born to play this role. She knows Jennifer Lewis. They're very close, and I knew Shangela, like, I compared Shangela to Jennifer Lewis during season 3, well before, I think, well, maybe they did know each other before season 3. I don't know. But Shangela's always been Jennifer Lewis-esque, and so this was perfect. Her little quip to Chi Chi, spelling bee champion, like it epitomized reasons why I love Shangela in terms of her quick wit and the specific type of wit that she has. And I was here for it. Next, Aja as Crystal LaBeija. So if you've never seen The Queen, look it up on YouTube. It might be on YouTube. I don't know. I don't remember where I first saw it, but it was a perfect rendering of who Crystal LaBeija was from what I saw. I've never met Crystal LaBeija. I don't know anybody in the house of LaBeija, so I don't know her personally. But from what I saw, the caricature was a very accurate representation, and it was hilarious, and it fit Aja. And I think there was a little small clip on VH1 where Aja talked about who Crystal LaBeija was, and I think that would have been helpful to have in the episode so people had context to what Aja was doing, so that it would make it even funnier. But I loved it. Aja did great, especially compared to doing Alyssa Edwards in season 9. It was perfect. It was great. Next, BB as Grace Jones. It was very funny at first, and I think what she did was she used all of her funny jokes too soon. If she just stopped at RuPaul, when are we going to F? If she had just stopped right there let that be the first joke and then save some other stuff, I think it would have been funnier throughout. But she let all of her available jokes go too fast, and then just like in the improv challenge, had nothing else to offer after that. So I think that's one of the things about BB that's interesting, is that she is funny, but she doesn't have the timing to understand, like, okay, she doesn't have the timing to understand, like, okay, I'll say this here first, and then I'll wait a little bit, let some space go in before I make my next bigger joke. Like, she kind of has like 3 or 4 big jokes, and then after that, there's nothing. So she needs more space in between, and needs to find creative ways to, when she's, you know, speaking or being a character, creative ways to make the time last in those in between spaces. But it wasn't like she wasn't funny though, but it was very bland after all of her jokes landed. Then Kristen Chenoweth, so there's one thing that kind of didn't sit well with me, and I was debating about whether I was going to bring it up, but just due to all of the things that have been happening in the country in the past week, I think the gun control joke, Congress not being able to pass something, Kristen Chenoweth writing gun control and using the bubble gun, it was just ill-timed. I felt weird about it, and I generally don't feel weird about stuff like that. I'm generally, like, humor that pushes that boundary, I am generally on the side of, but this I just felt kind of weird with, maybe just because of the timing of it, I don't know. But otherwise, other than that, overall, as a Snatch game, it's evident to me, but at the end of the, you know, at the end of the challenge, who won. I already knew that Bendela Creme and Shangela were in the top, just based off of Snatch game. Only thing that could ruin that is the runway. But before we get to the runway, we get to Elimination Day. And everyone is talking about how bad Trixie did. And even Trixie is talking about how bad Trixie did. And again, it just only compounds, and it only makes me feel even sorrier for her, or sadder for her. Or I don't want to make it sound like I'm pitying her, but, you know, I wanted her to do better. And she wanted to do better. And I think it's very difficult to watch someone go through something and be very self-aware of what they're going through and how that might look and how what the response might be. I think it's very difficult to watch that, and that can even make it worse for the person who is going through it. And so I hope that, you know, Trixie's able to calm herself down, but she's already in a mood because she already feels that she, you know, might be going home because of how poor her performance was. So she knows she didn't do well at all. And so then we shift over to Ben and Shangela talking, and Shangela clocks Ben's game. Ben is playing the humble game. Ben is playing it, maybe I shouldn't have won so many challenges that I've won. Maybe I didn't really deserve to. But, you know, maybe I took Trixie's one from last week. She's playing the humble game because Shangela's right. If you are haughty about it, there's going to be a target on your back. And Dela has a history of that, because if we remember in season 6, after she won Snatch Game, that was her second challenge win. She won the first challenge when they split the cast in half, and she was on the first episode, I think, and she won the first challenge where she hot glued her dress, and then she won the Snatch Game. That was her second challenge win. And she got a little cocky, a little peacock strut about it. And Darian Lake did not like that. And so that put a target on Dela's back from Darian. And that created that entire storyline for that season between Dela and Darian. So Dela knows, you know, I can't be too haughty. I have to congratulate myself. I have to look like I believe in myself and know that I believe in myself, but I can't get too crazy about it. And however I can play it to still, because if this other shoe drops and I end up going home or I end up getting in the bottom, I want someone to be able to save me by saying, well, it's not that I didn't like her and she has been killing the competition, so I just have to be fair about it. And I think she's trying to lay that groundwork, which I think in a competition like this, you have to do that. Shangela, as irritating as Shangela can be about it when she talks about the strategy, this game is about strategy, because at a certain point, everyone's going to be good. Everyone's just going to be good, and there might not be a bottom. Like, there might not be someone who did that bad, you know? Snatch Game, it was clear that there were people that did the worst, but going forward, you know, next week is a sewing challenge, and I know that, you know, it looks like, you know, people might be in the bottom. It might not look very well. Some of the stuff might not look very good, but who knows? It might turn out that a lot of the stuff on the runway, most of the stuff on the runway looks great, and that there's no real clear distinction of who's in the bottom. So it comes down to relationships and trust. And I think Dela is playing that game to the best of her ability, the best way that she knows how, and I'm here for it. So then we get to the runway, and Ru. Everything I said last week was last week, because that night Ru looked flawless. The hair was giving me everything. It was very similar to the hair from last week, so that's kind of another reason why I like it. But it was giving me everything. And then the dress, I was trying to figure out what the challenge might have been based off of the dress, because sometimes that happens. And it was I saw, because of seeing some of the previews, I was like, okay, maybe it has something to do with flowers. So I saw Rue had flowers on her dress. I was like, okay, this is a flower themed runway. I wonder what the rest of the looks are going to give. So I'm not a botanist. I didn't go to school for horticulture. I don't know what flowers. I just know that flowers make me sneeze, and I take Zyrtec for that every day. So I don't really, know how to assess, flowers. And in terms of the looks, I'm just gonna go through the looks of, what I thought, what I overall thoughts about the looks. Nothing, too ridiculous. So I think Aja looked really, really pretty. I love, she normally does this, these bright colored hairs. These bright colored hairstyles. And the last time I think I remember seeing her in a hair color like this, just like this, like via television, was at the grand finale of season 9. And I did not particularly care for the color or the wig on her then, probably because it was also coming up in the back and I could see her hairline. But this look, I think it looked great. And I'm actually looking at it on my computer right now. So I think the look looked great. I love the hair with the yellow shoe, the yellow pump that matched it. And then the look itself, is that a bolero that she has over it? Whatever that is over the dress, I think it's really pretty. And yeah, I think it's really pretty. I think this entire runway was just really, really pretty. So here's what I'll do with the runway. I'll go through what my favorite things were about each girl's outfit, because overall, this was just a really, really pretty runway, and there was nothing, there's nothing I didn't like. But I'm gonna go through each one and talk about just the one thing that I really, really loved about each girl's outfit. So first, Asha. The one thing I loved about her outfit is the sandwich aspect of it. The yellow hair with the yellow pump in between this beautiful pink, not flowy, frilly dress. And is that a bolero that she has over it? I don't know. Whatever the covering was, I think it was just really pretty. But I love the sandwich aspect of Aja's look. So next, Shangela gave me everything. I just love the reference. I said it last week. Shangela is a concept queen. She is a Southern showgirl. She knows what she wants to do. She has concepts in her mind and then executes it in a way that is very Edwardian. And then executes in a way that's very Edwardian, because she's a part of that house of Edwards, and is still very showgirl. Is still very big and grand. And I just love the entire Beyonce pregnancy announcement reference. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was great. Shangela is a contender for the crown and doing really, really well in this competition, which makes me extremely happy because of how pounded on she gets about how many times she's been on the show and how many chances she's had and what she was when she was on the show. Like, she's gotten pounded on hard about that, and she is just working and showing and proving that she belongs on All Stars and that she belongs in the Drag Race Hall of Fame. Next, BB. I keep saying this every week. If you have not jumped on the BB Zahara Benet train, not even in terms of this competition, just in terms of life, you need to follow her on Instagram, on Twitter, social media. Like, follow her, support her, go to her shows. This thing is gorgeous. I'm looking at the dress right now. It's flawless. It's spectacular. What? Like, you know what she's giving me? She's giving me Akasha from Queen of the Damned. Not Akasha from her season. Akasha, Queen of the Damned. It's very regal and royal, but very dark, regal and royal. It's very, oh God, it's such a beautiful look. And the red lip that goes with it. Yes, my favorite part about this look is everything. Actually, no. My favorite part about this look are the gloves. I think they start like right here, so they have the fingers exposed and they come down to the elbow. I love the gloves on it. I think that is my favorite touch on this outfit, but the entire outfit is stunning and she looks gorgeous. So Kennedy, I like the look. It's giving me more nymph than it is flower challenge, right? It's giving me more mythical creature that is, you know, of the flowers, of the daisy or sunflowers, as opposed to, you know, it being a flower challenge. Or I like the take on it, and it looks good. Her proportions are a little off for me. One of the times I would wish her behind was a little bit smaller, but I think I like the look. My favorite thing about the look is the hair, because out of it it's sprouting some stuff up out of it, kind of like the stuff in the back right there. It's sprouting some stuff out, and that's I think my favorite part about the look. But overall, it's a really pretty look. Again, none of the looks are really bad. Now, Chi was giving me everything. It's real Dynasty meets Atlanta. Like, it's real that. I love the big hair. I love the white lilies. I love the look itself. Like, she looks expensive. She looks gorgeous. She looks confident. The makeup is right. I think my favorite thing about that is the way that the hair was swooped to accent that little lily in her hair. I love the hair. The hair is my favorite part of this look, but Chi looks stellar in all white. It's everything. Next, Trixie is first of all, this season is starting to be a little Japanese reference heavy, which I love. Like, Trixie looks like she walked off the streets of Tokyo, like as if we're watching American Idol or America's Next Top Model when they're in Japan for their go season. Like, that's a girl that could be seen on the street, especially because Trixie has always been very heavy with her makeup and heavy-handed with her makeup, and always kind of gives you anime fantasy-ish sometimes with her makeup, but like country star anime fantasy. And so this was very like plucked right off the streets of Japan. And I love the look. It's such a pretty look, and it's flower overload. Like, it's flower power for real. I love it. It's great, and it works well for her. And Trixie knows what works well for her. There's another queen that comes up a little bit later who I'm gonna really talk about, but Trixie knows what works well for her, and pinks, blondes, yellows, oranges, like those types of colors work well for her. And she knows how to operate in that to still be who Trixie is, and I love it. Now, Bain de la Creme, my absolute favorite look. From head to toe, she looks stunning. She's gorgeous. It is the best one on the runway for me. She came to slay this season. There's a rumor going around that Bain de la Creme is gonna quit and up and quits, and if that rumor ends up being true, I'm gonna be pissed. I'm gonna be heated, because there's no way that you bring this to the competition only to quit. And if you're quitting, it has to be for some great reason. There has to be some real family turmoil, some inner emotional trauma that you need to get. Because this thing came here to win and came to slay the competition, and I'm here for it. This is the best outfit on the runway. The best outfit on the runway by far, for the competitors for me. And this is Ben's game to win, because she's just killing. She's killing, and she came with it very clear in her mind of what she was going to do and how she was going to do it, and I'm loving it. So the only moment to discuss from the judges' critiques on the runway and talking on the runway is when Trixie broke down, and she broke down because she admitted how scared she was of actually being back on the show, and I think her fear comes out of a mixture of fear of the competition, fear of letting herself down, fear of letting her fans down, and fear of repeating the mistakes of the past. And those are all very valid. And it makes it even more I empathize with her even more, because throughout the entire competition so far, she's seemed very confident. And I can empathize with that, because many of us can. Like, we go through our daily lives, we go through the routine being really confident, putting on this brave front, putting on this brave face, and being like, hey, you know, we're here to conquer and we're here to kill. And on the inside, we are scared out of our minds. And I think that's a completely relatable feeling to have, especially when you relate it to also, you know, knowing that you're strong in an area where you end up not doing well. I think it's not only relatable and empathetic, but I feel very bad that it happened to her, and that's one of the things I love about the show, is that you can draw these emotional connections to these human beings, these people, these competitors, in such a way where you want to still reach out to them and want to, want the best for them, even though you don't know them. And so I still want the best for Trixie, because, she's worked hard, and I want it to show on the show. She's worked hard after the show. She's done great things. I want her to have a moment on the show where she feels it's come full circle, at least. And so, like I said before, Dayla and Shangela are in the top 2, and Kennedy, Chi-Chi, and Trixie end up in the bottom 3. And so we get to the back, and Kennedy feels the safest. Kennedy, says, I've been in the bottom 2 twice, but Chi-Chi's been in the bottom 4 times. I wasn't the worst. So Kennedy feels safe. Chi-Chi feels resigned. Like, listen, I've been here 4 times. It's my time to go. If it's my time to go, it's my time to go. Be fair about it. Like, I don't want to continue the competition. Just skating by, or just going through the motions. And that's a great way to look at it, and a great way to put it into perspective, because yeah, you have been in the bottom 4 times, and you can't get mad at anybody for saying, I feel justified in sending you home, because that's the reality. And that's what you would do too. And I appreciate Chi-Chi for saying that and feeling resigned. You can see that she was really resigned to go home, and not that she was giving up, but it was just like, this is what it was. Trixie is the most heartbroken, and she breaks down. And when she goes to talk to Shangela, first, apologizes to Trixie and, comforts her. But Shangela has some very valid concerns. Shangela still needs to pay attention to her, because she has to be in the competition for her, because she wants to win. Shangela's concern is that if she saved Trixie, would Trixie, if Shangela ended in the bottom, save Shangela? And based off of the incident that happened prior, Shangela is not really comfortable with that. Because if you remember back to season 3 and the reunion for season 3, Shangela really did not click for Shangela that Raja and Manila and Delta and Carmen were saying certain things behind her back that she didn't see up front. She didn't perceive the relationship in the same way that the other girls did. And she's wary of that when it comes back to the show, especially since she's here to compete. She's here to win. And so her concerns are very valid. And I can see at that moment that Trixie thought that Shangela might be sending her home. And I was like, well, Trixie might be, going home tonight if Shangela wins, because Shangela's it's very real. Chi's been in the bottom 4 times, but Shangela can trust Chi-Chi. Can she trust Trixie? And I think the concern as a competitor makes sense. It's like, if you've ever watched Big Brother, you've ever watched Survivor, like it's just like that. Like, she's trying to win. Why would she save someone who she knows wouldn't save her, or who she thinks wouldn't save her? So they both change. We get to the lip syncs, and Dayla looks cute. And Shangela's glasses would just wear me out every time. Like, I just lose a little bit. But they start to do the lip sync, and the lip sync is "Kissed a Girl" by Katy Perry. Finally, because I thought that would have been on Drag Race a long time ago. I love the longer format to these lip syncs. There's a lot less interruption with talking heads during the lip syncs, and the lip syncs last a little bit longer. This trend kind of started in season 9, and I really noticed it in season 9 during the Shea Coulee and Benita Brown lip sync, "Cool for the Summer." That there were rarely any interruptions, and it was lasting a little bit longer. So I love that the lip syncs last longer nowadays to see, we get to see them perform. And some people live for the lip sync moments. So yeah, I'm here for it. Both of them were very entertaining. It was a very hard call in terms of who would win. I really wished though that they did interact a little bit more. You saw Ben trying to interact with Shangela, and then when Ben was trying to interact with Shangela wasn't trying to, but when Shangela was trying to interact with Ben wasn't paying attention to it, and so it never really matched up. But I really wish they had thought about it and be like, hey, let's collaborate, do something together, just go with the flow at certain points, because I think that would have been even funnier. And they both ended up winning too, so I think it would have, it still would have panned out. And I think both wins were well deserved. And now finally Ben de la Creme has the most wins, like officially the most challenge wins in terms of winning and lip sync wins. Like she's well above the entire pack at this point. Ben wins, sends Chi-Chi home, not a surprise. Shangela wins, and Shangela's speech is making between Shangela's speech, Trixie Mattel's expressions, and the shady cameraman, we all, like, I generally felt like Trixie was about to go home, that Shangela was about to pull Trixie Mattel's lipstick until she pulled Chi-Chi's. I was like, okay, thank you. I would have been mad if Shangela had chosen Trixie, because just track record wise, like, if it was just Kennedy and Trixie, okay, so I'll be like, hey, bye Trixie. But it's Kennedy, Chi-Chi, and Trixie. Like, Chi-Chi's been in the bottom so many times. She's got to go. And so Trixie breathes a sigh of relief, and we go back into the workroom where Chi-Chi's talking about how great the experience has been and how hard it's been. And then the message comes up, and Alaska and Chad creep up behind Chi-Chi. Ru says, "Don't look behind you." Chi-Chi looks, she screams, cut to black. Next week, I'm pretty sure is the episode where after, like, at the end of the episode, I'm pretty sure we'll get that, like, that mirror face crack moment we got in All Stars 2. Like, cause that's about the halfway mark. So if I'm wrong, then it's like, oh, like I don't know what point you're gonna do it, but you need to do it soon. But I think it's gonna be next week. So let's place our bets and see if I'm right. So now's the time I get to read some of the comments that you've left on any of my videos in the RuPaul's Drag Race playlist. Remember, if you leave a comment on any of the videos in my RuPaul's Drag Race playlist, your comment might be featured on my next video. So first we have from Carlos Harvey. "Wow, my first time watching one of your Ru vids. Me likey. Great review, great points, easy to watch and understand. You just got a new subscriber." Carlos, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate that. Now share and send and have other people subscribe. You know what the best way to help this is what I figured out. The best way to help other people subscribe to my channel is take their phone, go to YouTube, and press subscribe for them. And I think if one person does that, if each of my subscribers do that with 5 different people, we'll rack up a lot more subscribers soon. So yeah, take your friends' phones and just press subscribe for them. That'll be great. Thank you, Carlos. Next. So the next one is, so what do you think about this talk of there possibly being a mole this season? Or haven't you heard? Fingers are pointing at BB. From Carlos Harvey again. Oh, I didn't realize I chose Carlos both times. Sorry. Well, either way, Carlos, you have two shout outs now. That is phenomenal. Go ahead and like this video, Carlos. And then everyone else, go ahead and like and subscribe to Alex Chat so you can be just like Carlos and maybe get 2 shout outs in the next video. Mole, BB being the mole, I haven't watched The Handmaid's Tale, so I think I talked about this a little bit earlier in one of my vids. I have not watched The Handmaid's Tale, and if there's a clue to BB being a mole via The Handmaid's Tale, then I guess it makes sense. I don't want it to be true because I want BB to actually have a shot at winning again because I love BB so much. But if it is true, I wouldn't be mad at it. Here's why I'm never mad at the decisions RuPaul makes, because it's RuPaul's show. In season 4, she opened the show with Shangela coming out of the box and then sending Shangela out to her death to be eaten by zombies. You have to watch the season to understand. Either way, she said, "My show, my rules." That was the season. That was the first season she disqualified a queen, you know? Then she had double eliminations, and then she changed formats, and yeah. So whatever decision RuPaul makes, I'll end up being okay with because I'm pretty sure it'll still make for fascinating television. All right, I hope you enjoyed chatting with me today. I'll catch you guys later. Did you enjoy the video? I hope you did. If so, go ahead and subscribe to Alex Chats. And don't forget to check out some other great content right here.